We're here now on the National Motorcycle Museum stand. I'm joined by James Hewing, Director of the National Motorcycle Museum. James, we've got a selection of TT bikes on display here, starting with this one. Let's talk us through what makes this so special.
Yeah, we have got some very, very special TT bikes here, John. This one, probably one of the most famous in the collection, really, just over the road at the museum. And this is the 1907 TT winning bike. So this is the bike that won the first TT, the first multi-cylinder TT, and it was won by Norton's works rider at the time, a guy called Rem Fowler.
Okay. Fabulous bike, and it's a V-twin engine, so it's the twin cylinder. Belt drive, any other particular features on this bike?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of unusual features which perhaps riders today wouldn't recognise. So, as you say, leather belt, direct drive, so no gears. Wow. Nothing complicated like gears, but everything's got to be done by hand. So you've not a conventional throttle, it's lever. You've got to control the air mixture into the carburettor via lever. You've got to control the ignition via a lever, advance and retard. So there's a lot going on with your hands.
So yeah, a pretty involved ride, and this then is a truly historic bike and very, very special. Very special.
One of the most iconic, one of the most famous race machines in the National Motorcycle Museum collection.
So moving along then, we've got a 1921 BSA here then, James.
BSA 500 with the sloper engine. Now, a lot of the TT bikes we've bought, they're famous because they won. Yep. We've bought this one because this was famous for being an utter disaster.
Right, okay.
So in 1921, BSA entered 5 bikes in the TT. Made a real big thing of it, big publicity splash, you know, they thought they were going to do really well, and unfortunately of the 5 bikes that they entered, none of them finished. Right. And so the management at BSA ordered that they should all be destroyed and erased from history. Right. But this one from the National Motorcycle Museum collection survived.
So it's one of a kind, you're not going to see another one of these anywhere?
Not going to see another one.
Brilliant. And then to our left then, we've got a fabulous Velocette here, Cami Velocette.
Yeah, so moving from something that was a disaster to something that was a little bit more successful. This is the 1926 Junior TT winning bike. And that was ridden by a very famous rider back in the 1920s, a guy called Alec Bennett. And of course, Cami Velos had a long record of success in the 1920s and 1930s at the TT. Very reliable bike, great bike to tackle the infamous mountain course on.
So jumping forward to the sort of 80s and 90s, we've got 2 very, very nice looking Nortons here, and I know these rotary Nortons have gone up incredibly in value in the last few years, and interest in them in particular. But what's so special about this bike then, James?
Well, you know, the rotary Nortons, we've got all the X-Works rotary Nortons in the collection at the museum. I think all from memory 16 or 17, including the prototypes. So we've got all the genuine bikes, and they're so popular, they're so iconic because of how much success they had in the late 1980s and early 1990s. And here we've got the 1990 RCW, so that's the earlier incarnation of the rotary racer that was Robert Dunlop's. Wow. We've also got Williams, the dear departed Williams' name on the fairing, because we ran William on this bike as well. Of course, okay. William was tragically killed in Ireland a couple of years ago. But we keep William's name on the bike for posterity, really, because he rode it obviously as well as his dad. And this bike, Robert Dunlop, William's dad, he was 3rd in the F1 race in 1990 on the Isle of Man.
Wow, that's superb. And then this bike, even bigger success in terms of its race history.
Yeah, so going from 3rd place to 1st place, this is probably the most famous race bike, I think, in the museum. And this is the 1992 Senior TT winning White Charger, so called because it was white on the day it turned up on the Isle of Man with very little sponsorship, and it was all a bit last minute. But it's the ultimate giant killing story, the David and Goliath story of Steve Hislop winning on a last minute British bike after all those years of no TT success for any British manufacturer. And of course, Steve Hislop won the 1992 TT. against some serious opposition in Carl Fogarty on the Works Yamaha.
Yeah, I remember that as a young boy watching that race, and that was the one that really got me into the TT. It was epic, absolutely epic.
Epic, yeah, and a very close race. And as the Yamaha fell apart underneath Carl, the lashed together in a shed at the last minute in Shenston there in Staffordshire, Norton Rotary. Very light, very powerful. You know, nobody thought it had a hope, and what an amazing fairy tale of a story. So turns out it really is one of the most popular machines in the museum that everybody from all over the world comes to see.
Okay, so moving on again then, we've got a fantastic looking Triumph here then.
Yeah, more British success. So the Valmoto Triumph Daytona 600 from 2003. Jack Valentine's run team. Jack Valentine, obviously famous tuner and team manager, brought the Valmoto team together in the early 2000s. And what's most notable about this bike, again, we've got all the Triumph Daytonas from that era in the museum. Right. Most notable, the fact that after, again, many years of no British wins, and especially for Triumph, this took the first win that Triumph had since 1975 with Slippery Sam. So 28 years between wins when this machine won its class in 2003 with Bruce Anstey.
Wow, Bruce Anstey, what a rider he is. That's fantastic. Now, obviously this is a tiny snippet of the bikes that are on display, race bikes on display at the museum, but there's also over 800 road-going machines as well. And the museum's only over the road, it's open for people to go and have a look, and other benefits as well. Yeah,
that's right. We're junction 6 of the M42, which is a really easy trip for us, this, of course, to the show, because we're just across the road. So junction 6 of the M42 opposite the NEC. But yeah, as you say, there's over 850 bikes on display at any one time. 4 huge halls of road bikes and 1 huge hall of race and competition bikes. And as you just highlighted there, we do have a unique Friends membership scheme where people get to ride the road bikes. And so it's not just a museum about having bikes on static display. We use the bikes. Members can ride the bikes that are taken straight out of the museum, the road bikes, at various events that we put on during the year. But as we were discussing earlier, we also run the race bikes at events. So we like the bikes to be used. That's really important for us at the museum. It's not a static collection, it's a living collection where people can either ride the road bikes or they can see all these famous race bikes back in the environment that they were meant to be seen on. So we always do Goodwood Festival of Speed, for example, or we've had the Rotary Nortons over on the Isle of Man with people like John McGuinness, Michael Dunlop and all the famous TT riders aboard them. So we are very serious about running the bikes.
Okay, that's great. Well, thanks for letting us look around the bikes and talk through them today. And if you want more information, check out the website, the National Motorcycle Museum, and get down to the museum and become a member.